And we're back, Bronx Ice. Darren Hyman here with you, and you are watching Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. Well, the 2008 presidential race is still heating up, and no clear front-runner for the Democratic ticket. The Pennsylvania primary might have helped clear up who will be the presidential candidate on the Democratic side. Here now to explain what lies ahead for the candidates is political correspondent Marriah Star. And as some people were predicting no change or no real surprise yesterday, Hillary Clinton coming away with the victory. I guess a lot of questions were surrounding about those proportional delegates as to whether or not Barack Obama was going to be able to secure a majority of those proportional delegates to help to hedge his lead. Are you surprised with the way the numbers turned out?
I am not surprised at all. The big question was the margin of victory for Senator Clinton. A month ago, she had a lead of about 25 points in Pennsylvania. Then about a week ago, she had a 5-point lead. So Barack Obama was able to cut down her lead by 20 points, which was a big drop in the lead. So it wasn't really a matter of her victory. It was, can she turn this victory into momentum for her to A, generate fundraising, and B, get these superdelegates onto her side? And it looks like that she succeeded in the first part. Last night, she, of course, called out for fundraising, saying to her supporters, this is your campaign, please contribute, because basically they're running out of money. I mean, Barack Obama raised $42 million in March, and she raised $21 million, half of that. So she's almost in debt now, and she's running out of money, and she requires her supporters then to come forth and help maintain the momentum financially. But the superdelegates are the ones who are really keeping track of these results. And right there, if she had won a landslide, say 20-point victory, they might be going back over to her. But since it's only 10 points, they're still going over to Barack Obama most likely.
Let's look at the Republican side, because you got John McCain on the other side watching the two go at it. Does it help McCain at all with the fact that there still is no clear front runner? And does this give him more ammunition going down the line?
It does at this exact moment. Remember, this is April. So the election is in November, and given that there's such a wide gap between now and November, many people are tempted to say that because of the acrimony between the Democratic candidates, McCain is being the beneficiary of this negativity. And he is, to a certain extent. You have Obama supporters who refuse to vote for Clinton if she's a nominee, and vice versa. Clinton supporters say they won't vote for Obama. So McCain's getting their voters. But what will happen most likely is that McCain will still be in the same position that he is now in November. His support won't go up that much, whereas a unified Democratic Party, after the nomination is secured by one of the candidates, will be able to build up a lead over McCain.
We know that most of America is contra the war in Iraq. We know that John McCain is in favor of keeping troops there for years to come. Even with the fact that he has this proposal on the table of keeping the troops there, will you think he'll still be able to overcome that, given the fact that most Americans just do not want our troops out there?
He might be able to overcome it if he is able to explain his nuanced position. I mean, he has basically said, we have had troops in South Korea since the Korean War. We've had troops in Japan since World War II. And so we can expect the same kind of troop presence in Iraq for the next 50 to 100 years, as long as our troops are not being fired upon. But see, that's the catch. Many people say, well, look, if you're in the Middle East, in Iraq for that long, of course they're going to be fired upon. So the Democrats are rightfully backing him into a corner and saying, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot have troops there for that long and yet have them not be fired upon, not have them be at risk of danger.
But then on the Democratic side, you have both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama saying that they do have almost an immediate strategy of getting the troops, and they say they will withdraw troops out of Iraq. Yes. Once again, going contra to what possibly military insiders would say, does this hurt them? Because here you're making a promise, but yet and still, when you sit at the desk, there's a possibility that this might not even happen.
You are absolutely correct. And in fact, most political analysts say that At this stage, especially when you're talking about a war, when the facts on the ground are changing on a daily basis, as I say, it is not wise to make pledges 16 months in advance. You know, if you are president and you have facts that say, yes, you can withdraw troops, and do so. But if not, then you might want to keep them there. And to say that you're going to commit to a certain course of action is not wise.
And then we saw just a few seconds ago, excuse me, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama all smiles, and they were, you know, divided right there. But let's talk about that, because that acrimonious behavior between the both of them, is this going to be enough to solidify the Democratic Party once that nominee is there? Have they done enough in the area of negative campaigns now to isolate the party and really not give the party the advantage going into November?
I would say no. The great thing about this entire primary process is that it will be wrapped up by June. And between June and November, there's a big gap. So the primary is coming up, of course. Indiana and North Carolina vote on May 6th, and Barack Obama is suspected to win North Carolina by about 15 to 20 points. Clinton might win Indiana by 5 or 10 points. And her advisors are telling her, if you've won Pennsylvania, you must win Indiana to stay in the race. So for Clinton, it's about survival only. But once the nomination is wrapped up for either of them, they will have some time between June and August to sort of build unity, go to the supporters and say, look, we have to rally behind this candidate.
Right.
In order to beat McCain.
No, I'll meet you where you are. Between June and August, you have, between June, you have that time after June. But yet and still, we've been watching this for 2 years. And so whether or not you've been, you're just now tuning in or you've been watching for 2 years, we know how divisive it's been. Do you really think that you're going to be able to wipe away what's gone on in 2 years just between that short amount of time and then be able to muster up a victory?
Yeah, there is a problem there, and the problem is with the nature of the support for both candidates. As we have discussed in the past, Clinton has the non-college educated, the working class, the elderly, the women. Obama has the educated, the wealthy, the young, and the African Americans as well. Pennsylvania was a mirror image almost of Ohio. The dynamics have not changed one bit. And so the key swing group here, of course, is the white male working class, the Reagan Democrat in a sense. And they are being turned off by both candidates. And they're saying, look, if this level of acrimony continues, we will go vote for McCain instead. And that is a real danger. Obama has to show over the next few months that he is able to win the white working class vote, the key to Democratic victories. If he can't do that, then he won't be a very effective nominee versus John McCain. Clinton is able to win those votes. But simultaneously, there's a question here of the new voters. If the new voters come in and they are not going to vote for Clinton if she's a nominee, what is the future for the Democratic Party? Will those voters stay there? Will they simply drop out again? Will the Democratic Party fare well in the next election, like 2012, 2016? So the Democratic Party right now is considering a real conflict, this current election and future elections. Both candidates, I believe, and most Democrats believe, can win the election this year.
And the last question I think that many people have is, at the last minute we always hear the possibility of another candidate rising on that independent side. A lot of talk, particularly here in New York, of whether or not Mike Bloomberg was actually going to come up and run. Yes. If an independent does run, what does that do for both parties?
It might do nothing. It might have the same effect as Nader in 2004, where he had really no effect on Bush and Kerry. Or it might have a huge effect. If the voters sense that both sides are very bitter and very mean to each other, they might say, well, we'll pick the independent party. It might be Bloomberg or it might be someone else. So it's hard to tell at this moment, but what we can say is that we should not make any judgments until the primaries are over. Once that happens, then yes, we can say conclusively what will happen after that. But at this point, the primary dynamics run on their own steam. It's who's up, who's down, who has the most voters, who has the most money, stuff like that.
And you'll be back to break it down for us one more time at least.
Of course.
Marriah Star, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Our political analyst sharing with us here on Open. We want to tell you that stay tuned here to Open because we do have all of the analysis of what goes on in the world of politics through Professor Star and others who will be bringing us all in-depth coverage. We got to take a quick break, but coming up next, we will have exclusive footage of this Bronx College reaching an amazing milestone. We were there, and we want you to be there, so stay with us till we come back after this break.